All right, for more on the impact of Sinwar's death, I want to bring in CBS News Chief Foreign Affairs correspondent and Face the Nation moderator Margaret Brennan. So Margaret, you heard the details there from Haley as to how the IDF was able to locate Sinwar. It happened to be a chance encounter with those soldiers. But now let's talk about how significant this death is.
Vlad, it's very significant. It presents a potential opportunity that certainly President Biden and the U.S. government hopes the Israeli prime minister will seize at this period of time. The White House calls Hamas significantly weakened. Yahya Sinwar was uniquely powerful as a military commander on the ground, the architect of that deadly October 7th attack, and then more recently as a political leader, an obstacle to a potential diplomatic deal. But now, the question is, what does the Israeli prime minister choose to do with this momentum he has? A political win, a strategic win. Israel's killed Hamas leaders before. What does this do to actually change things on the ground? And from the beginning, the Biden administration has been frustrated that the Israeli government has not articulated what a political settlement would look like. You'll hear more about that in the coming days because the Secretary of State is headed to the region to try to press on that and also to press for the release of the remaining hostages. There are still around 100 Israelis being held by Hamas, at least 4 of them U.S. citizens. And it's not clear what their fate will be. A diplomatic settlement could be possible. We'll have to see if there is any work to be done on that.
Yeah, that was my first thought, Margaret, when I heard the news about Yahya Sinwar's death, which is that we know from reports that as Israeli soldiers got close to him at a previous time, he had surrounded himself with hostages. He had those hostages brutally executed. And so my fear, and I think for a lot of people the fear, is what is the fate of the remaining hostages now that he's been taken out of the picture. But I want to pivot to your remarkable sit-down with Paul Whelan. You brought us the very first interview since he was released from a Russian prisoner that happened in a prisoner swap 2 months ago. We have a little bit of sound from that interview, and then we can talk about it.
From day one, I was being told that there would be a trade, a political solution to the situation. But as it dragged on, you know, it did play with my mind. There was a psychological piece to this that even though now, you know, I seem like I'm doing okay, I've put back on some of the weight that I lost. You know, I see a picture of me from the prison, or I see a picture of me from court that's on TV, and that takes me back to being in that court or being in the prison.
You have PTSD.
Yeah, it's a form of PTSD. And it's common, you know, with people that have been in this situation. It'll go away probably over a few years, but it's hard to, you know, compartmentalize and block out that portion of what I went through.
And I can only imagine, Margaret, the psychological toll that not just being imprisoned would take, but, for example, when he heard that there were some prisoners like Brittany Griner being released and he wasn't part of that release and that initial release. What did he tell you about that moment?
Well, Vlad, this was the most difficult part of what Paul Whelan experienced, as he described it being twice left behind, abandoned, as he put it, he felt, by the U.S. government in those back-to-back prisoner swaps, one for Trevor Reed, a former Marine, then later for Brittany Griner. But Paul Whelan, who had been imprisoned for the longest, was not traded. And this was hard for him. He describes the moment where he was told he was on the line in the factory sewing buttons on uniforms he was forced to make in the factory on this Russian labor camp grounds in freezing conditions, pulled out of there and told the White House just called. And he got on the line and he was informed by a U.S. official that this transaction was happening to bring Griner back without him. And he said it was the lowest point. He didn't begrudge the other Americans going home, but he said, what do you have left to trade for me? He knew, he was aware through the years that the Russian government wanted to use the Americans as leverage to get back high-value prisoners. They call it hostage diplomacy. Rogue states literally taking Americans because of the blue passport they hold and using it as leverage. Vladimir Putin did that. He got back an arms dealer, Victor Bout. He got back other high-value prisoners, a drug dealer in exchange for Trevor Reed. And then ultimately, in this landmark deal, in August, the United States did manage to get back Paul Whelan and 2 journalists by arranging for an international trade, one of them involving an assassin, a convicted assassin sitting in jail in Germany for shooting someone in broad daylight in the middle of Berlin. Vladimir Putin wanted him back, and he got him. He got him through this trade because he knew the American government doesn't leave Americans behind when they are determined to be wrongfully detained, as Paul Whelan was here. In other words, the U.S. government says all these charges against Whelan were trumped up, and he lost about 5 years of his life waiting for his government to get him.
Well, now, of course, I'm sure his family, obviously, and we, his fellow Americans, are so happy that he's home. And I know, note, Margaret, that you had an interesting detail earlier this morning where you said he didn't actually even believe it himself. Paul didn't believe that he was being released until he saw the White Cliffs of Dover in Britain. Right. Yeah, such remarkable detail. You're going to have a lot more of your interview with Paul Whelan on Margaret. We'll have that interview with Paul Whelan on Face the Nation, beginning this Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern on CBS. Margaret, as always, we thank you, my friend. Appreciate it.